guys. Cold morning this morning. Anyway, we are in Trig. Just move it a little bit so you can see. Okay, we're going to look at special angles today. Okay, so we're going to look at how to calculate the sine, cosine, and tan for 45 degrees and 30 degrees. Okay, and I guess 60 as well, without using a calculator. So if last lesson was all about calculator, 45, 30, and 60 are angles that we got to know how to do it without a calculator. So we'll start with 45. Okay? The aim is to find all these values without a calculator. So we're going to start by drawing a triangle, right angle triangle with 45 degrees. Now, if this is 45 degrees, that obviously this angle will be 45 as well. Okay? Because they add up to 180. Now, remember, sine, cosine, tan are all about ratio between sides. So I don't know what this is equal to. It could be equal to half millimeter, 10 centimeter, 100 kilometer, whatever. Okay? It doesn't matter. What matters is to find out the ratios. Okay? So we're going to look, I'm going to just look at this angle right now. Okay? And let's just randomly decide that this is 1. It's just easier. It will work with any other number. We'll decide that this is 1. You'll see why. It's all because of ratios. Okay? Now, if this is 1, then this side will be also 1. Okay? Equal sides, equal angles. Now we need to find out this side, the hypotenuse. And we're going to use for that, of course, we're going to use Pythagoras. So this side, if I call that x for a second, I'm going to say x squared is equal to 1 squared plus 1 squared, or x squared is equal to 2. That means x equals square root of 2. Okay, just using simple Pythagoras. Okay, so I'm going to just erase that now. You want to copy that, you can just copy that. And I'm going to erase that. All that was to figure out that this is square root 2. Okay? And at this point, I mean, so far we just did grade 8 stuff, isn't it? It's grade 8 stuff, Pythagoras. But now we can calculate this. I mean, what is sine 45? I'm looking at this 45, okay? So sine 45 is going to be the angle. Okay, I'm going to just write it here. Straight. So sine 45 is the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. So it's 1 over square root 2. See that? Okay? Now, what about cosine? Cosine 45 is the side next to, adjacent to 45 by the hypotenuse. It's still 1 over square root 2. Okay? And then tan 45 is the one opposite divided by adjacent, 1 over 1, which is simply 1. Okay? So, these angles, you expected to actually remember them, to remember the sine, cosine, and tan of 45. Okay? So I personally, at least, especially in the beginning, you just try and remember how we developed it, and it will become very, very quick. You'll get the answer very quick. Now, I don't want to leave it for a second there, because sometimes you'll use that, and you'll see that, 1 over square root of 2. In other words, okay, what I'm trying to say is, if I write to sine x is equal to 1 over square root 2, then you ask yourself, what is the angle? The angle must be 45. Okay, so we can work backward as well, if that makes sense. We will practice it a bit later, so don't worry about it at this point. But I want to just write down 1 square root 2 in another way, because it's important that you recognize it. You know that with any fraction, you can time the top and the bottom by the same number. Okay, so like 1 over 2 is equal to 2 over 4 or 3 over 6. You can just time it by the same number. Time it by 2, top and bottom, or time it by 3. Still the same fraction. Okay, now the same thing I can do with 1 over square root 2. Okay, so if I time both the top and the bottom by square root 2, I'm going to get square root 2. What is square root 2 times square root 2? Okay, that's simply 2. So that's another way of writing it. And obviously the same thing goes with cosine 45. So it's just two fractions that are the same, but you need to be able to recognize it. Okay? Now we're going to move on to 30 and 60.